Hi everyone, welcome to this first Arkhênum webinar. We have the pleasure to have today the Wildenstein Plattner Institute. Tomorrow we'll have the American Battle Monuments Commission, and we will talk about its Vanishing Treasures project. With us today, Sandrine Canak, who is the head of the WPI Digital Archival Projects. And it's a pleasure to present this four-year project during which Arkhênum and the WPI collaborated extensively. So what I suggest, so there is a couple more people that are going to join us today. We had the first session yesterday evening, US time, and here is more for the European time. We're going to move on, Sandrine, to the next slide, please. And we're going to present you the summary of this webinar. So first of all, Sandrine is going to make a quick introduction of the Wildenstein Plattner Institute. What is the purpose of this institute? And then we're going to move on to the WPI Arkhênum Heritage Collaboration. We call it 360 degrees, and you're going to see why. Because it's not only a digitization project, it's broader than that. And then presentation of the WPI Digital Projects through the development of the digital platform, and Sandrine is going to provide us with a clear insight into those digital projects because there is several platforms. And then in the end, we're going to have a question and answer time around 10 minutes. So you can also use the panel, chatter panel at the bottom of the combo you have on your right of your screen. And I think that's it for now, and I'll pass the word to Sandrine. Thank you.
Hi. Here we go. Hello, everyone. My name is Sandrine Canak. I am the Director of Digital Archival Project at the Wildenstein Plattner Institute, a nonprofit foundation established in 2016 in New York City by the French art dealer and historian Guy Wildenstein and Hasso Plattner, a leading German entrepreneur in digital technologies. Our mission is to compile and publish digital Catalogue Raisonné and facilitate access to significant archival materials that support art historical research. And for those of you who may not know what a Catalogue Raisonné is, it is a publication that documents the provenance, exhibition history, and literature of all the works an artist has made over the course of their career. These publications are often multi-volumes that take years, if not decades, in the making. Upon our founding, Guy Wildenstein gifted the WPI the archive, books, and scholarly documents compiled by the former Wildenstein Institute for Catalogue Raisonné research. The Wildenstein Institute had published over 40 Catalogue Raisonnés on French and Spanish artists from the 18th to early 20th centuries and collected over the years thousands of publications and 1,500 linear feet of archival materials to support this work. This gift was as important in size as it was historically significant. We are now using these materials for WPI Catalogue Raisonné projects and have digitized part of the archival collection and made them available online on our public interface. And of course, all of the Wildenstein Institute catalogs have been scanned and are fully available on our website. The WPI is working with 3 international teams, a research team in Paris working on 8 Catalogue Raisonné projects on French artists, a team in New York conducting research on 2 new Catalogue Raisonné projects documenting the work of the American artists Tom Wesselmann and Romer Bearden, and another team in Berlin who is building our digital platforms. Indeed, the goal of the WPI is to make our publication and research materials freely and fully accessible online. And you will learn more about the WPI Digital Project in the second part of our presentation. In order to make all of these significant documents available online, the WPI partnered with Arkhênum on a mass digitization project. Between 2018 and 2020, Arkhênum digitized publications and archival materials totaling 2,500,000 linear feet. Arkhênum set up a scanning station in our Paris office to digitize the most delicate collection, but also so that our researcher will not lose access to material critical to their work. The bulk of our collection was, however, sent off-site to be digitized and indexed at one of Arkhênum facilities. Upon reception of Arkhênum's deliveries of the scanned material, the WPI performed quality controls before importing the files into our relational database known as the cataloging and archiving tool, aka CAT, where our team of archivists and researchers are processing the collection before they can be released on the WPI Digital Archive. I will now turn the digital floor over to Emmanuel, who will tell us how Arkhênum proceeded to digitize our collection.
Thank you, Sandrine. Hi again. So I'm going to enter into this session about what we did for the WPI. So if we move on to the next slide, Sandrine. So key data, for example, at the beginning, so the original paper archival collections, as Sandrine was saying, amounted to more than 2,593 linear feet of documents, which were contained in 60,000 physical archival documents. The period covered was going mostly from the 18th century until the 20th century. So this was the entry document, paper document. And then we are going to enter into the native images. So Sandrine, next step please. Digital deliveries amounted to more than 4 million digital images. It amounted in the end to 10 terabytes of data because you have on the one hand the preservation files in TIFF, but also in PDF for the diffusion, for the sharing online of the documents. Because of course we have to take into consideration that this project as a whole had the intention to promote online, share online all those files, all those documents. So there was no way we were going to put TIFF images on the website due to the enormousness of the data and also in terms of download of the images. So the digitization process started really in February 2018 because at the end of 2017 we were preparing the documents, Excel inventory files and so on, in order to be able to install the digitization workshop for 2018. And in the end, we ended the project in September 2020 with the final completion of the first digitization phase. And then we are going to move on to the next slide, Sandrine, please. So all in all, it really started in 2017, where we did the audit and heritage. Sandrine, please. Here we were doing the analysis of the documents and also of the premises, because we knew that we had to perform the first part of the digitization inside the premises of the Wildenstein at the Rue d'Anjou in Paris. So we had to see if there were room enough for the scanner, but also for all the hardware, equipment, and so on, and to be able to build a local database, a backup as well, of the digitization techniques and platforms. Inventory as well of the documents, because we have to analyze and to see the descriptions of the documents we are going to digitize, because we need that when we are doing digitization, so that we will be able to follow the trend and to make appropriate remarks inside this inventory file as a kind of follow-up tool in between Arkhênum and the WPI. And then in 2018, we entered into the proper digitization phase inside the Rue d'Anjou, and then later on in our premises at Arkhênum. So we digitized 4 million pages. But we had also, during this digitization phase, to take into consideration the fact that the WPI intended to have the collection put online so that it would be searchable. So we did some OCR, automatic OCR, on the documents that were being printed, but also manual indexing in the end of the sales catalog, and we're going to talk a bit more about that, so that we would be able to search online with keywords. And then finally, something that was not at the beginning of the project, the moving and the preservation of 6,000 boxes of documents. So it was really the archiving, physical archiving part of the project. Because here, the WPI had the second location in Paris, with Laboissy, and they were going to leave that premises. So we needed to extract the document from that place and secure them in our own archiving facilities and be able afterwards to deploy the digitization phase. And then we're going to use the next slide, please, Sandrine. So in terms of approach, we're talking about a digitization project, but more. It's going beyond that as well. So the first part of the digitization phase took place at the Rue d'Anjou. As you can see on the left, it's a beautiful building. It's in Paris, where the part of the collection of the WPI was retained. And then we had to do another part at Arkhênum Digital Lab. Next slide, please, Sandrine. So the on-site digitization project started in 2018, really. So we installed a complete digitization station for 36 months. So it comprehended one heritage scanner up to the A2 format, but also hardware and software packages, because it had to be autonomous in terms of comprehension, that it was going to function on its own. A digitization specialist dedicated to the project that was working full-time on-site, but also a remote project manager that was monitoring the project. So there was no point in having project manager on-site. And with the techniques, especially with Teams and other tools, it's quite feasible to work from and to monitor projects from a distance. So it's also important in regard with the price of the project as well, to have only one person fully dedicated to the project and one working part-time. All in all, we digitized on-site more than 500,000 pages there. And then we're going to the next slide, something please. And we were digitizing with specific digitization parameters. So here, again, the point was not to have the highest resolution ever in terms of resolution, because it's due also to the global amount of images to digitize. 4 million pages to digitize. If we were using 600 PPI in terms of resolution, it would be quite enormous. And also we had to take into consideration that those images ultimately would be available online. So we needed to have something that was quite light in terms of resolution. And so we decided to work on 300 PPI resolution. But of course it would be in color. And for this specific part, this first phase, that would be one page equals to one image basis. And we're going to see that for other documents during the second phase, this option was changed to 2 pages, 1 image. And the framing was done outside the documents. And here, again, we had a scanner that was going to the A2 format because there was no document above that format as well. And then we were going to add the metadata with an automatic OCR treatment. As you know, the OCR treatment can be automatic, but it can be also pushed to higher levels by doing also manual segmentation first and then launch OCR inside those segments of a page, or even do manual indexing. But at this stage, it was recorded that it was not available and suitable to do really refined OCR and manual indexing due to the cost mainly. There was no point really at that time. So we're going to the next slide, please. In 2018, it's the beginning of Laboissy project. So it's the second phase of the project. So here it was not, we are not talking only about digitization, because first of all, as I was saying previously, we had to move the archives and the library out of the building of Laboissy and provide conservation and storage off-site. And then finally, the digitization phase could happen. So Laboissy project, the first thing to do was facility management and archival services. So in that respect, we provided full services as well. So we had to study the archives, the way we were going to extract them from the building, the way we are going to prepare them for the shipping. So we had to see in terms of supplies what was needed. In the end, it was more than 6,000 archival storage boxes that were necessary. Also, we had to condition the documents inside the boxes. So we had archivists working on that. And then the loading of the boxes in containers so that it would be transported to the archive facilities. And then once it was in the archiving facilities, the indexing of the boxes and attribution of numbers so that it would be traceable. And then physical preservation while waiting for the digitization. In terms of digitization, so it was the main digitization that really started in 2019. Laboracy, all in all, represents more than 3 million pages digitized. So on a different basis compared to the first phase, so 2 pages, 1 image. When the Anjou site was on site, represented 500,000 pages, and Anjou off-site in our premises, 600,000. And here, as I was saying, metadata was as a basis OCR treatment, automatic for the printed document, but also we had to take into consideration the importance of the content of the sales catalogs, because in those sales catalogs, somebody is going to explain that, I guess, a bit later, you have a lot of manuscript information that relate to the prices, to the place where the auctions took place, the name of the people that acquired the piece of art and so on. So a lot of things that were not being printed were quite relevant in terms of importance of information. That's why the WPI asked us to do some manual indexing of the 11,000 sales catalog. So we are talking about ID number, date, city, and so on, everything that would be relevant for full text search in the WPI digital platforms. Next slide, please. So all in all our, thanks, Sandrine. Our team dealt with significant primary sources. So it was really something unusual for us, and quite a lot of pleasure gained from that, crossing the path of Delacroix, Cézanne, Bonnard. So we are very much used to have heritage collections, but not of that kind. So it was really something tremendous. And it's even more interesting and relevant for us to see that all the work we have been doing during the digitization phase is going to be put online quite quickly. And that's what happened for this project, and which makes it quite unique as well. And so in order to perform that, that project, we had to work with different departments inside the company, so as we're going to see on the next slide. So going from the project managers, Emily and Jerome, Aurélie at the quality control, Stephanie, Simon, and Nadia, all our digitization specialists working sometimes in 2 shifts, but also the logistic team and the administrative team. But above all, as you guessed, Sandrine also worked with the sales manager, Céline, who was really helpful in that, so in order to gain the bigger picture of the project and where the WPI wanted to go and find the appropriate answers in regards with the needs of the WPI. So that's it for the Arkhênum part. So we're going to move on now to the online promotion, the online platform that is going to be presented by Sandrine. And if you have a question in the end, you'll use the chatter during the question and answer time.
All right. So let me introduce you to the WPI Digital Projects, a digital platform that includes the WPI Digital Archives, the Sales Catalogues Database, and a few digital publications. All of the digital projects are accessible via our website at wpi.art through the menu tabs located on the upper left corner. Let's begin with the Digital Archivals portal, which the WPI launched in November 2020, so very recently. Currently, we have 12 collections containing over 60,000 digitized items available for browsing. And of course, we're adding a collection, more collection periodically. The scope of our archival collection includes the papers and records of significant art dealers, artists, and collectors, in addition to valuable research material used for Catalogue Raisonné project. All collections available on our platform have been processed and indexed following the Society of American Archivists standards, which is called DAX. These collections are also include descriptive notes such as summary, biographical, historical, and scope and content notes, and follow a structural order either designated by the original owner of the collection or by the archivist. As you can see in this example, the finding aid to this collection has been divided into series, files, as well as items. Each collection can be browsed and searched. You are seeing here on the left the contents of a correspondence folder, and on the right a detailed view of a page from a photographic album, both in the Gachet collection. In addition, the WPI archivists have added indexing terms such as agents and their roles, subjects and genres terms to help identify and describe the item presented. In this case, we have identified the name of the photographer, Alexandre Floire, and Aurélie Antoine de Tounon as a sitter, and included photograph as a genre of the material. We are using controlled vocabulary where possible and incorporated authoritative theory established by the Getty, such as the ULAN, the Union List of Artist Name, and the AAT, the Art and Architecture Thesaurus. Those indexing terms, along with any other keywords, can also be entered in the Search Collections page in order to find specific materials. Here is an example of a search for materials related to the artist Marie Cassatt, when her name was entered into the search bar at the top. Let's now turn our attention to the WPI Sales Catalogue Database, which currently features over 11,000 digitized pre-1945 sales catalogs from around the world, many of which have been annotated. And for those who might be unfamiliar, sales catalogs are valuable to researchers looking for information about past auctions that can help determine the provenance or custodial history and the sale price of art objects sold at auctions. To conduct searches in the WPI database, you may enter keywords, dates, and/or places. All of our sales catalogs have optical character recognition, aka OCR, functionality, which is how the keyword search function. And an example of how the search function operates, we can enter the following criteria. For instance, Sotheby's as our keyword, so date 1920 and the place London, and then you press enter or return on your keyboard. So the database informs you that there are 45 instances where the keyword Sotheby appears in the London sales that occur in the year 1920. The light gray box that you see appear below each thumbnail image tells you how many times this keyword appears in each sales catalogs. Sotheby's appears 9 times, for instance, in this first instance of a catalog. This high definition scans are easy to navigate. Oh, my slide is not working. Here we go. Are easy to navigate, as you can see here, by using the arrow function. The inner arrows or caret marks allow you to turn pages one by one. The arrows located on the outermost sides allow you to jump either to the very end of the catalog or back to the cover page. And the thumbnail images at the bottom can be used to scroll and preview the subsequent pages in the catalog. So the catalog can also be viewed in a full screen mode by clicking the little box icon on the top right, which then permits user to zoom in and rotate pages. The WPI recently became a member of OCLC, a global library cooperative that provides shared technology services to catalog our self-catalog so they can appear on Worldcat, an online repository that connects users to the collections and services of more than 10,000 libraries worldwide. This not only improves the discoverability of our collection, but also enables users to directly access our digitized sales catalog without having to visit libraries. We're in the early stage of this project, but we plan to have all of the 11,000 records cataloged by late 2022. If you come across one of our records on Worldcat, you can click on our on our institution link here, for instance, which will lead you to view the sales catalog directly in the Sales Catalogues Database. We will now stick to the last portal of our platform, which is the digital publication. And I will show you, give you a little intro of Gauguin, Catalogue Raisonné of the painting 1891-1903, which is the first WPI Digital Catalogue Raisonné released on this portal. And this is very recent. It just was released like a couple of months ago. It documents the 223 works that Gauguin painted upon his arrival in Tahiti in 1891 and until his death in 1903. With links to thousands of scanned exhibition catalogs, monographs, articles, and other archival materials, this digital publication provides new ways to study the history of our object. And I'm now going to play a little video. Here we go. You can access this digital publication for free through our website by selecting the Gauguin tab on the menu bar. You land on the introduction page, which is how users access information on the work included in the Catalogue Raisonné. The paintings are divided in 4 chronological periods: Gauguin's first trip to Tahiti, his return to France, his second trip to Tahiti, and finally, his move to the Marquesas. Each essay is accompanied by illustration, some of which link to the catalog of individual artworks. Footnotes for the essay appear at the bottom of the page. And on the upper right, you will see tabs for the different sections of the publication: the introduction, the artwork's overview and search page, the bibliographic and collection indices, the usage guide, and an overview of the project and its history. The artwork search page allows you to sort and locate individual works by a variety of criteria. The present view displays the works according to their chronological sequence. You can also sort by the W number, which is how many of these works have been traditionally identified in the 1964 Catalogue Raisonné written by George Wildenstein. For a new Catalogue Raisonné, each work has been assigned a unique alphanumeric identifier in addition to its original W number. Works that were not included in the 1964 publication only bear the WPI identifier, and they will be listed at the top of the page when you sort by W number. The filter on the right enables more precise searches for individual works by title, media, period, dimension, and provenance. For instance, conducting a search using a collector or former collector's name, such as Lily P. Bliss, will isolate these works. By clicking on the artwork, you enter the page that provides the artwork details, including its physical cataloging, as well as its provenance, exhibition history, and bibliography. You'll notice that the provenance contains many annotations, which are each visible with a click. In some cases, they provide transcription of source material or link directly to the digitized reference. For example, let's look at Volar. Within the annotation, there is a hyperlink to the Volar stockbook that is part of the WPI Digital Archives. The scan of the precise stockbook page will appear or open in a separate window. When available, the annotation also leads to digitized material from external archival repository, including the Archives of American Art. You'll notice an open book icon alongside some of the cited auction references in the provenance. Clicking on these icons takes you to the scan of the auction catalog if it has been digitized. These icons are largely found throughout the exhibition listing and bibliography for each work. Clicking the icon reveals the scan reference. And by clicking on Included Artworks at the upper left of this display, you can see all of the other Gauguin works featured in this publication. Even when a corresponding scan is not available, the citation itself acts as an hyperlink to show all including works in the show. A complete listing of all of the exhibition and bibliographical materials cited in this catalog are included among the indices. As you'll see, most of the references will have a corresponding scan that you can consult. When a publication is in the public domain, we display its scan in entirety. If it's still protected by copyright, we only display limited pages for educational purposes in accordance with fair use. There is also an index of public collection featuring paintings by Gauguin. These are searchable by the name of the institution and the location. Clicking here reveals a list of all the paintings by Gauguin in that institution and allows you to navigate directly to the artwork page of each painting. From there, you are able to navigate directly to the housing institution's website. In our guide to the catalog, we explain the rationale behind how the art historical data is displayed and prioritized, including the approach to citing exhibition and scholarly materials and describing the provenance. We also provide a list of the primary sources and archives consulted during our research. This dynamic Catalogue Raisonné will be amended and enhanced with future development and as new research comes to light. We explain the genesis and execution of the Gauguin Catalogue Raisonné, as well as planned future development to the publication in the About this project section of the catalog. And now I'm going to wrap up with this one slide about what is next for the WPI. We have many projects in the works, and you can see here a sample of what the WPI plans to release in the near future. Thank you very much for your attention, and please take a look at one of our digital projects at wpi.art. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandrine. So as you can see, it's a really global project here that we have. Normally, digitization phase and online promotion sharing phase are not always following one another. So it's something that is really interesting in that respect. Maybe I'm going to start the question and answer phase by asking you the first question, so that it would leave time for the others to prepare eventual questions. Was it an intention from the beginning to have this collection online, or was it separate ways of thinking? First digitization, and then we'll see what we're going to do with that, or how was it built?
It was something that was deciding upon our funding that all of our publication will be available online. So that's something that was very important to our funder, Sales Plattner. And also because Catalogue Raisonné are very expensive books to produce, and they are, as I was saying before, multi-volumes, and they take decades in the making. But the problem is that as soon as you publish them, they became obsolete because people continue to write about this or that artist, exhibition continue to be made, and as soon as the book hits the shelf, it's no longer accurate. So that's why I think it's a very important fact to be able to update this publication continually, especially because works also continue to be sold at auction and change hands all the time. So if we want to be accurate and keep, keeping up with what's happening with the artist's work or the artist's oeuvre, we need to do this online so we can actually publish them, yes. And so one component that was actually quite challenging for us was to develop a platform and also do the research at the same time. So develop the digital platform, do the research for this publication and process this collection and digitize them at the same time. So we're usually you do this in sequence, but we were doing all of it at the same time, which was quite challenging, but actually worked out eventually, since I think we have quite interesting platforms to offer the public and different research tools, which I think are quite important for people to access.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the audience? You can chat if you want. For the moment, I don't see any
I have a question
raised
about
hand.
I have a question for you, Emmanuel, because I don't
Yep.
think I know when Arkhênum was founded and how fast the company grew, because you have quite a number of facilities now across the country.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, we were founded in 1999, so it's more than 20 years now. So originally we are from Bordeaux in France, but we have more than 4 permanent offices now. So we have one in Bordeaux still working, it's the headquarters, and then we have another one in Paris, of course, but we have also premises in permanent premises in Geneva, Switzerland, but also Berlin. And we go from one place to another with what we call in situ projects. I'm going to make a behind-the-scene tour for the archiving conference this afternoon at 3. So I'm going to get a bit more in depth into that. So I think that Brie has a question. So I'm going to read it aloud. Thank you for the presentation. What a beautiful and impressive project. Congratulations. Looking forward to exploring it. I have 2 questions. First question, would you be able to describe how you developed the digital platform, tools, applications, used, etc.? Second question, is it possible to perform a cross-platform search? Thank you. So first question, would you be able to describe how you developed the digital platform, tools, applications, used, etc.?
I mean, I won't be able to explain exactly how the developer developed it because I am not a developer, but what I can tell you is we did a lot of research into what was already existing in terms of cataloging software because we had to accommodate a lot of data already because we inherited also a lot of data from the Wildenstein Institute that we had to use and accommodate in this new platform that we're designing. So we had to figure out what we could do with that data and what kind of field we would need and how we were going to we had to think about how the back end would look at the same time as the front end, which is also sometimes complicated, and also how we could offer our researcher a powerful research tool, because it's also something that people in our team are using for their own work. So it is there is a front end, which is a digital platform that I showed you, but there is also a back end, which has much more research capacities, and you can enter much more data that is not necessarily relevant for public consumption, I would say, but that is nevertheless important for research. So we looked at a lot of different things available and try to pick what was best fitting for us, and also to create our dreamboat interval cataloging tool, because sometimes there are functions that are not available out there, and we had at our disposal this team of developers in Berlin that was able to build something that would accommodate those streams, or will eventually accommodate those streams. So yes, that's how we proceeded, and then we had to design the front end. We had to work with UI UX designers, as it might not be a surprise to any of you, and to try to enhance the navigation and to create search capabilities that would be interesting, and also makes something available online and makes those beautiful scans, because they are beautiful scans and material really, so you can really interact with them. And it was actually a good thing that we were able to do this during the pandemic, because as we've seen, libraries were all closed, and it's very important to have as much material accessible online. So that's for the first part. And the second part, can you do cross-platform searches?
Yes. Yes, exactly.
Not yet. Not yet. It's something that we would like to, and that's why we are working with those control vocabularies, the one designed by Getty, for instance, that I mentioned, ULAN and AAT, so that in the future, if like enough other institutions are using the same terms, our different platform could talk the same languages, and we could do search across different platforms. But we also do link a lot to other websites on our own platforms. For instance, in the archives, our researchers have integrated a lot of information from the BNF that is relevant to whatever item you're looking at. So you are able on our website to go to other websites, but there's no search capacity, cross-platform search capacities thus far.
Okay, thank you, Sandrine. I have another question. Can you tell us a bit more about your users? Who are your users? Are they researchers, professional? Is it the general public? Where is it based, or is it worldwide, or is it specific locations? Europe, the US, or can you tell us a bit more about them?
At this point, because we're again, we're still a very new foundation and organization. We've been only in existence for 4 years, and we released our first archives in November 2020, and the first digital publication a couple of months ago. So I think we'll see who is our audience, but I think at first people who are definitely researchers and a lot of provenance researchers, because the information that we present is relevant to them and can help them. But we also hope to expand our audience because the Wildenstein Institute has collected a number of archives, and for instance, I showed you the Gachet papers for research, for Catalogue Raisonné research, but those archives are very interesting and important in and of themselves and can be used for many other purposes, and we hope that they will be used for many other purposes. So right now it's definitely art historian and provenance researcher, but we hope that in the future many more people can access them and research them. And as far as a geographical location, I think definitely mostly US and Europe are accessing our website and our portals online, but we also have people from all over the world too.
Okay, there was another question in the meantime. Can you tell us more about your experience using Worldcat as a means of increasing accessibility to your collections? Have you seen an increase in users finding your collections via this channel?
So Worldcat, since this is something very new that we are developing, we started by putting all of the Catalogue Raisonné, so the old Wildenstein Institute Catalogue Raisonnés are cataloged in Worldcat. So this is because we wanted to give this to the public. I mean, we have those publications, we have the right to them, and we want to make them available. So they are available on our website, and this is how we first use Worldcat. And then we are doing this, I mean, our archivist is doing this titanesque work of cataloging this 11,000 self-catalog, and we just want to encourage people to look for it on Worldcat, which is not necessarily maybe how you would proceed, because self-catalog are their own kind of weird publication. But we hope that, yes, in the future, more people will access them. And we're trying to partner with other institutions as well to cross-reference our self-catalog, because if they have one, we may have another, and also because some of them are hand annotated, they are very unique. So maybe another library has one, but they may not have the same annotation than ours. So I think for researchers, it's important to look at different ones, and those annotations are very valuable because they are, price information or notes of some kinds that have been added over the years by we don't know who necessarily, because every single publication has its own history and we're not necessarily aware of it. So yes, I think it's good that we can we can make them available on Worldcat.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to check if there's more questions. For the time being, no. Maybe one last question on my part. What does the current online document represent in terms of percentage in regards with your global collection? Is it the majority of your collection? Is it 10%? You previously, before the webinar, we were talking about glass plates, for example, that you had in your collections. What is the size of the online presence?
No, I mean it's a small portion. It's a small portion of our collection because we have many more archives, and we hope that in the future maybe we can continue the digitization process. But right now we had to make priorities and establish priorities and think about what would be the more useful for research, and also yeah, I'll just determine order, but I can't really give you a exact percentage because there was no real inventories of the collection. They knew the number of feet, of linear feet that they had of material, but there was not like really precise cataloging. So especially when we moved out of the Labo ici, we had to move out quite quickly, and we put things into boxes and had to send them off to storage. And so there's a lot of other sales catalog from post 1945 which we haven't digitized yet because, you know, for copyright purposes, for instance, we can digitize them and maybe use them for our research, but we won't be able to release them online. So for now, it makes more sense to just have access to them on our premises for our researcher, but not much sense to digitize them. And also maybe they're available in other places, and they are more widely available. So there might not be enough. I mean, they obviously they are interesting, but it's not a priority for now. And also, we will hopefully for some of the archives that we do not plan to scan, or at least not in the foreseeable future, do a scan on demand, trying to implement a scan on demand service where we will just have the finding aid available online. And if you go on our platform, you can see that we have the Robert Research Archive, which is available for scan on demand. And so basically people can look at the finding aid and identify a dossier or file that they are interested in and submit a research request to us, asking us to scan this particular dossier for a nominal fee. I can't remember how much it is, but it's not a lot at all. And we scan it and send it via email to the person who requested it. So we hope to do that, to extend that service to many other collections that we just cannot scan in the foreseeable future. But we want to make them available nevertheless. So it's kind of a compromise between completely digitizing them and not having them accessible. It's just to have the finding aid and let people decide what they want to see.
Okay, thank you. I think I'm going to check one last time if there is any other questions. It seems not. So I think we've reached the 45 minutes. So I thank you again, Sandrine, for your contribution to that webinar. And thanks to anyone that was in the audience. And we're going to share with you a video and possibly the presentation from the WPI. Thank you again, and if you're interested, tomorrow, I think it's tomorrow afternoon at 3, we're going to talk about vanishing treasures with the American Battle Monuments Commission. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.